My 16-year-old son looked me in the eye and said, "Mom's boss signs paychecks. You just sign apologies." I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just smiled and walked away. Because what he didn't know was that I'd already found the hidden child, the embezzled money, and the one man who could protect what they tried to steal from me with a single phone call. My name is Dylan Carpenter. I'm 48 years old, and I used to think I had it all figured out. 23 years of marriage, a son who was my pride and joy, a career as a financial auditor that taught me to spot inconsistencies in numbers, but somehow left me blind to the ones in my own life. I spent decades teaching clients how to protect their assets, how to read between the lines of balance sheets, how to catch the red flags before they became disasters. Ironic, isn't it? I could sniff out financial fraud from a mile away, but I couldn't see my own wife playing me for a fool. The moment everything shifted happened on a Thursday night at Romanos. This Italian place Cameron and I had been going to since he was 8. Same corner booth. Same waiter who remembered we both liked our steaks medium rare. It was supposed to be our thing, father and son, no distractions. But that night, something felt different. Cameron had this look in his eyes, like he was sizing me up, measuring me against some invisible standard I didn't know existed. We ordered our usual. The waiter brought bread, poured water, retreated. Cameron broke off a piece of bread, didn't eat it, just rolled it between his fingers. "Mom's doing really well at work," he said, casual as asking about the weather. "That's great," I replied, cutting into my bread. "She works hard." "Yeah." He paused, took a sip of his Coke. "Mr. Kelly really values her. Gave her another raise last month." Raymond Kelly, the name that had been creeping into our dinner conversations for the past 2 years. Her boss, her mentor, her whatever the hell he actually was. "That's good," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "She deserves it." Cameron looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in his face that made my stomach drop. Pity maybe, or contempt. Something borrowed, something that didn't belong in a 16-year-old's expression. "Dad, Mom's boss signs paychecks. You just sign apologies." The words landed like a punch to the gut. Not because they were loud or angry, but because they were so calm, so rehearsed. Like he'd been practicing them. Or worse, like someone had given them to him. I set down my fork. The restaurant noise, the clinking glasses, the low murmur of other people's conversations, it all faded into white noise. I looked at my son across the flickering candle between us. "Where'd you hear that?" I asked. My voice was steady, but something inside me was already shifting, hardening. Cameron shrugged, wouldn't meet my eyes. "It's just true, isn't it?" I didn't answer right away. I finished chewing, wiped my mouth with a napkin, took a slow drink of water. Stalling, maybe, or just trying to process the fact that my own kid had just delivered a line that sounded like it came straight from someone else's mouth. Someone who wanted to make sure I knew exactly where I stood. "Good to know where your loyalty is," I finally said. Not angry, not hurt, just noted. The waiter came by, asked if everything was okay. I nodded, asked for the check. Cameron looked surprised. "We just got our food," he said. "I know." I signed a receipt, left a generous tip. Tipped like a man, closing a chapter. "I'm not hungry anymore." I stood up, grabbed my jacket. Cameron sat there, confused, maybe a little guilty, but not enough. Not nearly enough. That was the last dinner we'd share like that. The last time I pretend everything was fine, that I was just being paranoid, that Lisa's late nights and business trips and sudden promotions were all just part of climbing the corporate ladder. I drove home in silence. When I pulled into the driveway, Lisa's car was already there, which was unusual for a Thursday. She was supposed to be at some client dinner. I walked inside, heard her voice from the kitchen, bright and animated. She was on the phone. I know, she laughed. He doesn't suspect a thing." I stood in the hallway, frozen. She hadn't heard me come in. "Ray, we just need to be patient a little longer. The paperwork's almost ready." "Ray." "Raymond Kelly." I turned around, walked back out to my car, and sat in the driver's seat for 20 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, breathing steady. That night, something inside me went cold. Clinical. The same way I approached audits, looking for discrepancies, following trails, documenting evidence. If they wanted to play this game, fine. But they'd forgotten one crucial detail. I wrote the rulebook. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't even try. Instead, I went to my office, the small room Lisa always complained was too cluttered, and pulled out my laptop. As a financial auditor, I'd spent 20 years tracking money trails for corporations, finding discrepancies, uncovering fraud. The irony wasn't lost on me that I'd never thought to audit my own marriage. I started with the bank statements. Joint account first, then Lisa's personal checking that I technically had access to, but never looked at. The patterns emerged quickly, like they always do when someone's hiding something. Conference in Denver, March 15th. Hotel charge, 2 rooms. Except I found the corporate card statement. Only 1 room billed to the company. The second room, $347 at the Riverside Hotel, paid from our joint account. My money, funding her affair. I kept digging. Dinner charges in cities where she claimed to be at training seminars. A jewelry purchase for $1,200 in May. Nothing I'd ever seen her wear. Spa treatments in Scottsdale billed as client entertainment on the company card, except the timestamp showed they were booked for 2 people. The phone records were worse. I pulled our account history online. 2-hour call to Raymond Kelly on our anniversary. I remember that night. She'd said she was exhausted from travel, went to bed early. Another 90-minute call on Christmas Eve while I was downstairs wrapping Cameron's presents. Then I found the real evidence, buried in Cameron's old social media. A photo from 2 years ago, company picnic. Cameron, maybe 14, standing next to Kelly, the man's arm around his shoulder like a proud uncle. The caption made my blood run cold. Future stepdad vibes. 43 likes, including one from Lisa, with 3 heart emojis. I sat back, stared at the screen until it blurred. This wasn't an affair that just happened. This was planned, cultivated, years in the making. Kelly hadn't just stolen my wife. He'd been positioning himself as the upgrade, the better man, the better father. And Lisa had helped him do it. I printed everything. Bank statements, phone records, screenshots. Created a folder, labeled it evidence in block letters. Then I opened a new document and started writing. Not for court. Not yet. Just organizing my thoughts, building a timeline, looking for the leverage I knew had to be there. Because men like Raymond Kelly, men who build empires on other people's trust, they always leave a trail. You just have to know where to look. And finding trails, that's what I do. The mediation was held in one of those sterile conference rooms designed to make conflict feel professional. Glass walls, neutral carpet, filtered water that tasted like regret. I arrived 15 minutes early, alone, wearing the charcoal suit Lisa used to say made me look too serious. I was serious. Lisa walked in 12 minutes late. Raymond Kelly walked in with her, hand resting on the small of her back like he owned it. Like he'd been doing it for years, which apparently he had. He pulled out her chair, whispered something that made her smile, then sat down beside her, closer than her own attorney. The mediator, a tired-looking woman named Patricia, glanced at her notes. "Mr. Carpenter, I see you're unrepresented today." "For now," I said calmly. Kelly leaned forward, fingers pressed together like some boardroom prophet. "We believe in a collaborative approach here," he began, his voice smooth, practiced. "Given the emotional complexities, Lisa has asked me to help clarify certain communications." I looked at Lisa. She looked at the table. "We've prepared a proposal," Kelly continued, sliding a bound document across to me. "Color-coded tabs, professional formatting. We think a 60-40 asset split is fair, given the circumstances. Lisa will retain primary custody of Cameron, the college fund, and the house. You'll have standard visitation." I opened the packet. Page for a list of the house, the one I'd bought before we were married, as marital asset, retained by Lisa Carpenter. Page 7 suggested a 2-year alimony schedule that would drain half my income. Page 9 included Cameron's college fund, $85,000 I'd been contributing to since he was born, listed under assets managed by Lisa Carpenter. "You're counting the college fund as hers," I said quietly. Kelly jumped in before Lisa could speak. "It's under her management, Dylan. Always has been. We think it's best if it stays that way, especially given Cameron's preference to remain with his mother full-time." Preference. Like my 16-year-old son had voted me off the island. The mediator cleared her throat. "Mr. Carpenter, are you certain you don't want legal representation? These matters move quickly." I closed the packet, pushed it aside. "I understand perfectly." Kelly smirked, leaned back, whispered something to Lisa. She nodded, almost smiled. Patricia droned through formalities, filling time and forms. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was watching how Kelly touched Lisa's arm, how he answered for her, how he sat there, smug and certain, like this was already over. He thought I was broken, confused, ready to fold, but I was just getting started. I drove home in silence, every word from that room replaying in my head. Not with anger, with clarity. They'd made their move. Now it was my turn. I walked into my house, didn't even take off my shoes. Went straight to the desk, opened a drawer I hadn't touched in 15 years. Inside was a phone. Old, basic, one number saved. I stared at it for a long moment, thumb hovering over the call button. Then I pressed it. 3 rings. Then a voice, alert and unmistakable. Didn't think I'd hear from you again, Dylan. I know, I said. But you owe me. A pause, then, name it. Mediation. Next Thursday. 11 sharp. Sit next to me. Silence. Not hesitation. Just calculation. Understood. The line went dead. I put the phone back, locked the drawer. That night, I didn't sleep, but I didn't pace either. I planned. I was deep into reviewing Kelly's corporate filings when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Mr. Carpenter? A woman's voice? Young, uncertain. Speaking. My name is Emily. Emily Brennan. I think you're my father. The room tilted. I sat down hard in my chair. What? My mom is Lisa Carpenter. I'm 8 years old. I live with my Aunt Sharon in Pittsburgh. Sharon. Lisa's sister. The one who supposedly adopted a child 6 years ago. Some story about a troubled teen mother who couldn't keep the baby. I've met Emily twice, maybe 3 times at family gatherings. Sweet kid, quiet. I never looked twice. How did you get this number? I asked, my auditor brain kicking in, needing facts. Aunt Sharon gave it to me. She said it was time I knew the truth. She said Mom lied to everyone. My hands were shaking. I forced them still. Where's your aunt now? Right here. She wants to talk to you. A rustling sound, then Sharon's voice, tight and angry. Dylan, I'm done lying for her. Lisa got pregnant 9 years ago. Told you she miscarried, remember? I did. The worst month of our marriage. She'd cried. I'd held her. We'd grieved together. She didn't miscarry, Sharon continued. She had the baby. Made me take her. Said it would ruin everything with you. That the timing was wrong. That she wasn't ready. I've been raising Emily as my own, but I can't do this anymore. She deserves to know her real father. I couldn't breathe. Why now? Because Lisa's planning to take everything from you. And I'll be damned if I let her do it with a clear conscience. Emily deserves better. You deserve to know. I arranged to meet them the next day. A coffee shop in Pittsburgh, neutral ground. While I walked in, I saw her immediately. 8 years old, dark hair, my eyes staring back at me. She looked up, nervous. Hi, Emily, I managed. We talked for an hour. She asked careful questions. I gave careful answers. By the end, she was holding my hand. Sharon slid a folder across the table. Birth certificate, medical records, DNA tests she'd already run. She's yours, Dylan. No question. I looked at my daughter, this child I didn't know existed, and something inside me shifted. This wasn't just about Lisa's betrayal anymore. This was about a little girl who'd been hidden away like a secret, a mistake. I want to be in your life, I told Emily. If that's okay with you. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I'd like that. I drove back to Philadelphia with the folder on my passenger seat. Lisa had hidden my daughter, lied about a miscarriage. Let me grieve a child who was alive and growing up 3 hours away. The evidence folder on my desk just got a lot thicker. And my resolve? Unbreakable. I made a mistake 3 days before the next mediation. I checked social media. Not because I missed Lisa. Not because I was keeping tabs. Just old muscle memory, scrolling through feeds while drinking my morning coffee. That's when I saw it. Raymond Kelly's profile, public and proud. A photo posted 18 hours earlier. Fresh powder, mountain backdrop, arms spread wide like some corporate guru, celebrating enlightenment. Behind him, Lisa in a white parka I bought her last Christmas. And beside her, Cameron, grinning wide, ski poles in hand, wearing goggles that used to hang in our garage. The caption hit me like a sledgehammer. Some families are built. Others are rebuilt better. Hashtag fresh start, hashtag new beginnings, hashtag father figure, hashtag gratitude. I stare at that photo until the screen blurred. Not at the snow, or the matching gear, or Kelly's smug expression. It was Cameron's smile that gutted me. Too wide, Too rehearsed, like someone had told him. Smile big. This one's for the followers. The comments rolled in. Colleagues praising Kelly's balanced life. Someone wrote, "So happy you found your real tribe." Another, "That's what a real man looks like." Tribe. Real man. Like I was some obsolete model they traded in for the upgrade. I scrolled through Kelly's feed. Found more. A photo from 2 months ago. The three of them at a basketball game. Cameron's arm around Kelly's shoulder. Another from summer. A fishing trip I'd never heard about. Lisa in every single one, beaming like she'd finally found what she'd been missing. They've been building this narrative for months, maybe years. Not just having an affair, but constructing a replacement family, complete with social proof, public validation, my son as the centerpiece of their redemption story. I downloaded every photo, printed them in color. The one from the ski trip, I printed twice. Stapled one inside the evidence folder. The other, I taped to the inside of my desk drawer where I'd see it every morning. Not for motivation. For clarity. A reminder of exactly what they tried to do. Erase me. Replace me. Rewrite history so thoroughly that even my own son would forget I existed. I called Sharon in Pittsburgh. "Can Emily come stay with me next weekend?" "Of course," Sharon said. "She's been asking about you nonstop." "Good," I said. Because Cameron needs to meet his sister. And Lisa needs to explain why she's been lying for 8 years. That night, I drafted an email to Lisa's attorney. Attached the birth certificate, the DNA test, Sharon's affidavit. Subject line, additional dependent, Emily Carpenter, age 8. I didn't send it yet. Timing mattered. But soon, very soon, Lisa was going to discover that her carefully constructed narrative had a hole big enough to drive a truck through. And I was going to be the one behind the wheel. I was reviewing Emily's medical records when my phone rang. Private number. "Mr. Carpenter? My name is Josh Brennan. I work at Kelly's firm, corporate legal department." I sat up straighter. "I'm listening. I know what Raymond Kelly is doing to you," Josh said, voice low, urgent. "And I want to help." "Why would you help me?" I asked, skeptical. "Because 7 years ago, Kelly destroyed my father's career. Dad was VP of finance, found irregularities in expense reports, confronted Kelly privately. 2 weeks later, Dad was fired for performance issues. Lost his pension, his reputation, everything. He never recovered. Died of a heart attack 3 years ago, still fighting to clear his name." I closed my eyes. Another victim. Another family broken by Raymond Kelly's ambition. "What do you have?" I asked. "Emails. Internal memos. Kelly's been using company funds for personal expenses for years. Luxury hotels, gifts for Lisa, even Cameron's ski trip last month, all billed as client development. I've been documenting everything, waiting for the right moment. And this is that moment." I saw Philip Lawson's name on the mediation schedule. Josh said, "If you're bringing in someone like that, you're serious. I want Kelly to pay for what he did. If helping you accomplishes that, I'm in." We met the next day at a coffee shop in Center City. Josh brought a USB drive, handed it over like contraband. "Everything's on here," he said. 5 years of expense reports, falsified invoices, emails where Kelly explicitly tells Lisa to code personal charges as business expenses. If this gets out, it's not just termination. It's fraud. I plugged the drive into my laptop right there, scanned the files. Hotel suites and locations matching Lisa's supposed business trips. Jewelry purchases labeled as awards. A $4,500 weekend in Napa coded as executive training. "This is gold," I said quietly. Josh leaned forward. "Use it. Burn him down. For my dad. For your family. For everyone he stepped on to get where he is." I copied everything to my secure drive, handed the USB back. "Your name stays out of this. I'll protect you." "I don't need protection," Josh said. "I need justice." I understood that, more than he knew. When I got home, I added Josh's evidence to the folder. It was getting thick now, heavy with the weight of Kelly's sins. Financial fraud, hidden children, stolen families. Philip Lawson called that evening. "Dylan," he said, "I've reviewed everything you sent. This is bigger than I thought. Can we use it? Can we?" Philip laughed, sharp and satisfied. "Dylan, we can end him. Professionally, legally, completely. But you need to be certain. Once we start this, there's no walking it back." I thought about Cameron's smile in that ski photo. About Emily asking if I come to her school play. About Lisa's 3 heart emojis under a post calling another man Cameron's father figure. I'm certain, I said. Good. Thursday, 11 a.m. I'll handle the rest. I hung up, opened my desk drawer, looked at the ski trip photo taped inside. Rebuilt better. The caption had said. We'd see about that. Thursday morning arrived with cold clarity. I wore the same charcoal suit, carried the same briefcase, but this time I wasn't walking into that conference room alone. I arrived at 10:55. Lisa and Kelly were already there, seated in their usual spots, her lawyer shuffling papers with the confidence of someone who thought this was already decided. Kelly had his arm draped over the back of Lisa's chair, proprietary, smug. I walked in, set my briefcase down, but didn't sit. Patricia, the mediator, looked up from her notes. Mr. Carpenter, are you ready to proceed? I'm waiting, I said simply. Lisa exchanged a glance with Kelly. He smirked, leaned back in his chair like he had all the time in the world. Then the door opened. Philip Lawson walked in, and the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Mid-60s, impeccable navy suit, silver hair combed back with precision. He didn't carry a briefcase, didn't need one. He carried presence, the kind that comes from 40 years of dismantling men who thought they were untouchable. He nodded once to me, a gesture so slight it barely registered, then moved past and took the seat beside mine. Adjusted the chair exactly 1/4 inch before sitting down. That tiny movement made Kelly's posture shift. His arm slipped from Lisa's chair back to his own lap. Patricia blinked, clearly recognizing him. Mr. Lawson, will you be representing Mr. Carpenter today? Philip's voice was quiet, measured, devastating. No, I'm not his attorney. He placed a slim black folder on the table with the precision of a surgeon placing a scalpel. I'm the reason Raymond Kelly has a career. The silence that followed was absolute. Kelly's face went pale. His lawyer, the junior partner who'd been so confident moments ago, froze mid-breath. I watched his throat work, trying to swallow. Lisa turned to look at Philip, recognition dawning in her eyes. Fear followed quickly after. Kelly found his voice, barely. I was told you retired. Philip smiled, thin and cold. I did. But Dylan called in a favor. And I always pay my debts. He opened the folder, methodical and calm. Shall we begin? Kelly's lawyer leaned in, whispered something urgent. I caught fragments. Can't be here. Conflict of interest. Philip heard it too. There's no conflict. I'm not representing anyone. I'm simply here to clarify certain historical facts. Facts that pertain to Mr. Kelly's employment contract, which I drafted in 2006. He pulled out the first document, slid it across the table. Clause 14. Relational conduct conflicts. You remember this, Raymond? Kelly stared at the paper like it might bite him. The employee shall not engage in romantic relationships with individuals related to senior shareholders. Philip's finger traced the text. Dylan Carpenter holds 0.8% equity from the Riverside acquisition. Preferred shares, non-voting, but legally binding. He looked up, meeting Kelly's eyes with surgical precision. You've been in a relationship with a shareholder's wife. That's a terminable offense. Lisa's lawyer finally spoke up. This is highly irregular. We should pause and... No, Philip said. Not loud, just final. We're going to finish this now. He pulled out the second document. Josh's evidence. Expense reports, falsified invoices, emails. 5 years of fraudulent billing. Personal expenses coded as business development, including, notably, a ski vacation last month featuring your girlfriend and her son. He slid the printed photo across the table. The one from social media. Kelly, Lisa, and Cameron, all smiles and hashtags. Posted publicly. Philip continued. Documented evidence of impropriety. The board received copies this morning. Kelly's face went from pale to gray. You can't. I already did. Philip's expression didn't change. They've accepted your resignation, effective immediately. The room felt like it was collapsing inward. Lisa grabbed Kelly's arm, her confidence finally shattering. Raymond, what is he talking about? But Kelly couldn't answer. He was staring at the resignation letter Philip had just placed in front of him, already signed, already processed, already destroying everything he'd built. Patricia looked at me, then at Philip, then at the document spread across the table like evidence at a crime scene. Mr. Carpenter, she said carefully, do you wish to proceed with the mediation? I looked at Lisa, really looked at her. The woman I'd loved for 23 years, now sitting beside a man whose career had just evaporated because he'd underestimated the wrong person. Yes, I said, but under new terms. My terms. The mediation didn't end that day. It transformed. Kelly's lawyer tried to salvage something, anything, but Philip had sealed every exit. The resignation was final. The board had already moved to replace him, and the fraud investigation was launching within 48 hours. Lisa sat frozen, watching her carefully constructed future disintegrate in real time. We need to discuss custody, Patricia said, trying to regain control of the process. Cameron stays with me, I said firmly. Primary custody. Lisa gets supervised visitation until she can demonstrate stability. Lisa's head snapped up. You can't be serious. Cameron wants to live with me. Cameron, I said quietly, doesn't know he has a sister. I slid the folder across the table. Birth certificate, DNA test, Sharon's affidavit. Emily's school photo paper-clipped to the front. Lisa's face went white. Her lawyer picked up the documents, scanned them, then set them down like they were contaminated. You told me she miscarried, I said, my voice level but hard. You let me grieve a child who was alive. You hid my daughter for 8 years while you played house with Raymond. Dylan, I can explain. No. I cut her off. You can't. There's no explanation that makes this okay. Philip pulled out another document. Family court has been notified. Emergency custody hearing is scheduled for next week. Given the evidence of deception and the introduction of a previously unknown dependent, Mr. Carpenter's petition for primary custody is likely to be granted. Lisa's lawyer was sweating now. We'll fight this. With what resources? Philip asked mildly. Your client's boyfriend just lost his position and his income. The fraud investigation will likely result in criminal charges. Lisa herself signed off on several of the falsified expense reports as his assistant. She's complicit. The room went silent. Kelly finally spoke, his voice hollow. Lisa had nothing to do with. She signed the authorizations. Philip interrupted, sliding another document forward. Her signature appears on 14 separate fraudulent expense claims. That's conspiracy to commit fraud. Lisa looked at Kelly, betrayal mixing with fear. You said those were legitimate. They were, Kelly stammered. I mean, they were necessary for her. They were theft, Philip said. And you both participated. I watched them turn on each other. The alliance that had seemed so solid, now fracturing under pressure. This was what happened when people built their futures on lies. Eventually, the foundation collapsed. Here's what's going to happen, I said, taking control. Lisa agrees to primary custody going to me. She gets the personal items from the house, her car, and nothing else. No alimony, no support, no claims on my retirement or assets. In exchange, I don't pursue charges related to the expense fraud. Lisa's lawyer started to object, but Lisa held up her hand. And Cameron, she asked, her voice breaking. Cameron gets to decide if he wants a relationship with you, I said. After he meets Emily. After he understands what you did. I won't poison him against you, but I won't protect you from the truth either. She looked down at her hands, tears finally coming. Not tears of remorse, I realized. Tears of defeat. Fine, she whispered. Philip produced the revised agreement, already prepared. Lisa signed it with shaking hands. Her lawyer witnessed it, looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. Kelly signed his resignation letter without a word. When it was done, I stood, collected my documents, and walked out. Philip followed. In the hallway, he turned to me. Well executed, Dylan. Your father would be proud. My father. The man who'd introduced me to Philip 30 years ago, who taught me that power wasn't about volume. It was about preparation. Thank you, I said, for everything. You earned this, Philip replied. They tried to erase you. You reminded them why that was a mistake. I drove home, called Sharon, told her it was done. Emily could come stay with me this weekend. Permanently, if she wanted. Then I called Cameron. We need to talk, I said. There's something you need to know. Something important. Dad, I saw what happened. Mom called. She was crying, saying you destroyed everything. I didn't destroy anything, I said quietly. I protected our family. And I'd like you to meet someone. Your sister. Silence. Then what? Come home, Cameron. Let me explain. He did. And for the first time in years, I saw my son really look at me. Not with contempt, not with pity, with respect. Cameron stood in my living room, hands shoved in his pockets, staring at the floor. He'd been quiet since I picked him up from school, processing everything I told him in the car. About Lisa's lies, about the hidden pregnancy, about his sister. She's really 8 years old, he asked finally. Yeah, I said. Her name is Emily. She lives in Pittsburgh with your Aunt Sharon. She's been asking to meet you. Cameron looked up, confusion and hurt mixing in his expression. Why would Mom do that? Hide her own kid. I didn't have a good answer. Maybe there wasn't one. People make choices they think will protect them. Sometimes those choices hurt everyone else. The doorbell rang. Cameron tensed. I opened the door. Sharon stood there with Emily, who clutched a small backpack, and looked up at me with those eyes, my eyes, uncertain but hopeful. Hi, Dylan, Sharon said quietly. Thanks for coming. I stepped back, let them in. Emily saw Cameron and froze. He was twice her height, a teenager who probably seemed like a giant to an 8-year-old. Emily, I said gently, this is Cameron, your brother. She looked between us, processing. Then, in that direct way only kids can manage, she said, you look like Dad. Cameron's face did something complicated. He crouched down at her level. Yeah? You think so? Uh-huh. Same nose. He smiled just a little. I guess we do. They talked, awkward at first, then easier. Emily showed him her drawings, told him about her school, asked if he liked pizza, because Aunt Sharon said their dad loved pizza. Cameron answered her questions with patience I hadn't seen from him in years. I watched them from the kitchen, Sharon beside me. He's good with her, Sharon observed. He's a good kid, I said. Just got lost for a while. Later, after Sharon left and Emily was settled in the guest room, Cameron found me in my office. Dad, he said, leaning against the doorframe. I'm sorry for what I said at the restaurant, for believing them. You didn't know the whole story, I said. I should have trusted you. He looked down. Kelly made it sound like you were the problem, like you didn't care about us. And Mom, she just went along with it. They needed you to believe that, I said. Made their story easier. Cameron nodded slowly. Can I ask you something? Anything. Why didn't you get angry? Yell, freak out, anything? You just handled it. I consider the question. Because anger would have given them power. They wanted me broken, emotional, easy to dismiss. I chose to be strategic instead. That's pretty cold, Cameron said, but there was respect in his voice. Not cold, I corrected. Focused. I had 2 kids to protect, even if one of them didn't know I existed yet. He smiled slightly. She's cool. Emily. Yes, she is. Think she'll want to live here? Like permanently? I hope so, I said. If she's comfortable. If you're okay with it. Cameron straightened. I'm okay with it. Actually, I think it'd be good. For both of us. That night, I tucked Emily into bed, something I'd never gotten to do before. She looked up at me, small and trusting. Dad, she said tentatively. Yes, sweetheart. Can I really stay here? As long as you want, I promised. She smiled, settled into the pillow. Good. I like it here. I closed her door gently, found Cameron in the hallway. She called you Dad, he said. Yeah. Feels right, Cameron said. Having her here. Having us actually be a family. It does, I agreed. And for the first time in years, I believed it. For months later, I stood in family court for the final custody hearing. Lisa sat across the aisle with a public defender, her eyes hollow. Kelly wasn't there. Last I heard, he'd taken a job in Atlanta, some mid-level position at a company that didn't know his history. Yet, the judge reviewed the evidence, the agreements, the testimony from Sharon, from Emily's therapist, from Cameron himself. Mr. Carpenter, the judge said, given the circumstances and the children's express preferences, I'm granting you sole legal and physical custody of both Cameron Carpenter and Emily Carpenter. Ms. Carpenter will have supervised visitation rights, pending completion of counseling requirements. Lisa didn't react, just signed the papers when they were placed in front of her. Outside the courthouse, Cameron and Emily waited with Sharon. Emily ran to me when she saw me, and I picked her up, held her tight. We won, she asked. We won, I confirmed. Cameron smiled, the real kind, the one I remembered from before everything got complicated. That weekend, we moved Emily's things for Pittsburgh. Her room in my house, our house, was already painted her favorite color, purple with white stars on the ceiling that glowed at night. Philip Lawson called the following Tuesday. "Thought you want to know," he said. "Kelly's new employer received an anonymous package yesterday. Employment history, fraud documentation, the works. He was terminated this morning." "Anonymous," I said. "Completely," Philip replied, but I could hear the smile in his voice. "Justice has a way of following people, Dylan. Sometimes it just needs a little help finding the address." I didn't ask if he'd sent it. Didn't need to. Josh Brennan, the young lawyer who'd helped take down Kelly, got promoted to senior counsel at the firm. New management appreciated his integrity, apparently. He sent me a thank you card with just 2 words. "For Dad." Lisa moved to a small apartment in the suburbs. Got a job doing administrative work for a nonprofit. Cameron saw her twice a month, supervised visits that stayed civil but distant. Emily asked about her once, then seemed content not to pursue it. One evening, about 8 months after everything settled, Cameron and Emily were doing homework at the kitchen table. I was making dinner, something I'd gotten better at out of necessity. "Dad," Emily said, looking up from her math worksheet. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure, kiddo. Why did Mom give me away but keep Cameron?" The question hung in the air. Cameron stopped writing, waiting for my answer. I dried my hands, came over to the table, sat down between them. "Your mom made a choice based on fear," I said carefully. "She was scared of what people would think, scared it would change her life in ways she wasn't ready for. It wasn't about you, Emily. You weren't the problem. Her choices were. But you wanted me," Emily said. "I never got the choice before," I said. "But yes, sweetheart. I wanted you. I want you. I'm glad you're here." She smiled, went back to her homework like that settled everything. Cameron caught my eye, nodded slightly. A moment of understanding between us. That night, after both kids were in bed, I sat in my office, opened the drawer where I'd kept all the evidence, all the documentation of Lisa and Kelly's betrayal. I looked through it one last time, then put in the shredder. I didn't need it anymore. The past was settled. The future was what mattered now. 2 kids who needed stability, honesty, a father who showed up and stayed present. I could do that. I was doing that. And for the first time since that dinner at Romanos, when Cameron had thrown Kelly's words in my face, I felt something I'd almost forgotten. Peace. Not because I'd won. Because I'd protected what mattered. My family. Rebuilt. Better this time. Because it was built on truth.